Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the profound philosophical transition of Cynos, the last thinker. Now, right off the bat, forget the idea of a triumphant, self-improving Ubermensch. That's not what this is. We're actually diving into a grim, dark, Gothic fable. We're going to strip away the surface illusions and find a profoundly exhausted figure hiding just underneath.
See, we aren't looking at a hero brimming with life here. Instead, we're exploring a crushing, cosmic exhaustion. Imagine the sheer psychological toll of keeping up a grand facade. Think about the absolute, back-breaking labor of pretending that you hold the universe together. It's that total, bone-deep burnout that serves as the engine driving Cynos' entire transition.
Section 1. The Architect of Order.
So looking through the lens of a Fichtean dialectic, we start with our thesis, right? The architect. This is an incredibly active role built on what you might call structural arrogance. It's an attempt to cure the messy disease of becoming by enforcing rigid geometric perfection. But, as you'd expect, the inevitable antithesis to this is the witness. It's a complete inversion. We're talking about total submission to the void, hiding behind a crimson mask and being fueled by an underlying devotion to chaos.
Moving on to Section 2, Shroud of Unearned Majesty.
To really understand this, let's consider the parable of the Shroud of Majesty. Picture a king who presides over a crumbling, diseased city. But instead of actually fixing it, what does he do? He drapes it in rigid illusions. He covers it in veils of shimmering gold and silk. He projects this massive lattice of pure reason, supposedly built on undeniable laws of geometric perfection. But ultimately, it's just a shroud of unearned majesty. Why? Because it completely ignores the decay festering right underneath.
Because the truth is, beneath all that silk, the stone was literally rotting. The king eventually realizes he isn't an architect of salvation at all. He's just a liar, and the burden of maintaining this pristine, perfect lie just becomes entirely too much. So finally giving in to his true devotion to chaos, he tears down his own beautiful veils. Not to rebuild the city, mind you, but to actually revel in the destruction of his own hollow deception.
Section 3. Rise of the Ugliest Man.
When Cynos' constructed reality finally collapses, it gives rise to a truly fascinating Nietzschean concept, the ugliest man. Now, it's really important to know this isn't about physical appearance at all. It's a profound, deeply existential philosophical state. In Nietzsche's work, the ugliest man is the figure who actually killed God simply because he could no longer stand to be pitied by an all-seeing eye. He is the ultimate nihilistic archetype, the one who sees right through every single mask and hollow deception of reality and experiences this profound exhaustion simply because he can no longer bear to hide the void.
Section 4. The Crimson Mask. To fully grasp this massive shift, we can look to the parable of the submissive witness, which is set deep in the shadows of the mountain forge. The story goes that a high priest has spent literal eons weaving these priestly robes out of burning runes, loudly declaring them to be the ultimate monolith of reason. But one day, catching his reflection in the shadows, he doesn't see a god staring back at him. He sees the ugliest man. Absolutely crushed by the weight of being a false purveyor of meaning, he violently strips away those heavy robes of structural arrogance.
And in their place, he dons the crimson mask. This is a huge symbolic shift for the character. He completely abandons the desperate need to be a cure for the disease of becoming. Instead, he transitions from being the active architect of order into a submissive witness to the void. He essentially just stops fighting the chaos and simply lets it be.
Which brings us to Section 5, Relief in the Void.
This is where we reach our synthesis. The immense pulling tension between the architect's rigid order and the witness's chaotic truth finally resolves itself. As his intricate geometric web, that rigid lattice of pure reason, shatters into pieces, the priest actually does not mourn. Instead, his life's work is splintered and dissolved into the deafening, geometric silence of the end. The void wins over the ruins he can no longer bear to hide, and there is absolutely no desperate scramble to rebuild it.
Instead, there's only the profound relief of a man who no longer has to pretend the void is a puzzle waiting to be solved. And think about why this matters outside of a grim Gothic fable. It really speaks to the universal, exhausting burden of pretending we have absolutely everything figured out in our own lives, doesn't it? We all build our own little shrouds of unearned majesty. And just like Cynos, there is a palpable, almost intoxicating sense of relief in simply dropping the facade and finally accepting the chaos.
So, I'm going to leave you with this to ponder. As you examine the beautiful silk veils and the structural arrogance in your own life, the ways you try to force strict order onto the unpredictable disease of becoming,
Ask yourself this. When your own illusions inevitably collapse, will you mourn the loss of the mask? Or will you, like the ugliest man, find a dark, profound relief in the deafening silence?